Biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Good morning and welcome in. The Lunch Rush is on the air with you here for the next 2 hours as we talk the world of sports. Happy to have you with us here today on, yes, it is a Football Friday. We've teased them. We've kind of taken a guess at them. No, this is real. It is here. College football begins in earnest tomorrow, though we were already underway last night as the Drake Bulldogs fall to South Dakota School of Mines to open up their season to the new regime over there. We got week 0 games with FBS teams in competition, starting with TCU in North Carolina over in Dublin, NC State, Virginia, which during the regular season, that game's played in October, nobody's watching. But I'll tell you, they're going to get some numbers for that one coming up tomorrow afternoon. Late night UNLV against Memphis. It is great. But tonight, before all of that, we have high school football. It returns. Yes, there were a few week 0 games that were sprinkled across the great state of Iowa last week, but it goes tonight. And we got you covered right here on ESPN Des Moines as we will bring you our Central Iowa game of the week. Each and every week, we'll have a game for you, one of the top games across the Central Iowa landscape. And tonight, we go to Waukee, where the story certainly has been brewing over the last week. Gabe Baker, the head coach, has been suspended 2 games. He will not be on the sideline tonight for the Waukee Warriors as they play host to Coach Woodley and the Johnston Dragons. A lot of anticipation for this Johnston team. A couple years ago, they made that leap, got to the Dome, and now trying to step on that, build on that, and get there. And that's been kind of a rallying cry for that Johnston team coming up this season. That is our matchup coming up tonight, Johnston and Waukee. You can hear it right here on ESPN Des Moines. Pre-game show at 6:45 as we will have kickoff at 7 o'clock tonight. But not just here on ESPN Des Moines, we got you covered CISN TV with each and every one of my games every week throughout the course of the regular season and into the playoffs for the first couple of rounds. We'll have you covered with the semifinals and the championship also in the Dome here on ESPN Des Moines. So excited about that. You can also catch the games that'll be broadcasted every week on the Channel 13 app. The WHO 13 app will have that along with the games that they broadcast. They'll have Valley Dowling tonight as well with Keith Murphy and Justin Surrency on the call. So a lot going on, a lot of different places, and this is the time to definitely jump in with high school football. Couldn't do it without the great support of all of our sponsors, and a big thank you to all of them that you'll be hearing throughout the show today and throughout the broadcast coming up this evening. Well, coming up on the show today, yes, we're going to talk college football and get ready for the start of the football season. And very excited for an announcement. But we'll kick off the hour talking Hawkeyes and Cyclones. Cyclones up first today as Eugene Rapay will join us from the Des Moines Register. It was their what they called the Victory Day celebration that was held last night. A really cool event up in Ames. Eugene was up there for that one. Talk a little bit about the event and, of course, get ready for the football season with Eugene. From there, we'll jump over to the Hawkeyes with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. Tom joins us pretty much every Friday throughout not just the football and basketball season, really all throughout the year. Really enjoy the conversations with Tom, and not just going to talk football with him. Also want to get into the recruiting battle for Caden Daughtry, a top 10 player in the country. Iowa was the first visit that he scheduled, but now it is not just a visit to Iowa City, as maybe Hawkeye fans had their fingers crossed that was going to be the case. He's got 6 other visits set up, so services are going to be difficult. Programs that are well-funded are also after his services. I know Ben McCullum has done a great job of building that relationship, but we'll dive a little bit deeper into that with Tom Kakert coming up here at 11:40. It is the return of an old friend, and I know for a lot of college football fans, maybe the favorite guest that we've had throughout the years. That is Bama Bob. Bama's back with us for this football season. We will preview the games on Fridays and recap things on Mondays with Bama Bob throughout the course of the football season. It's brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling, a locally owned heating and cooling company. Yeah, it still happens, and it happens with Logier. They put in my new air conditioner a couple years back. They helped out Ken Miller with his here just a couple months back as his hit the fritz up there in Ankeny. Logier Heating and Cooling, a presenting sponsor here of the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon and Bama Bob twice a week throughout college football season. Then at 12:20, we'll go out to Las Vegas. Mike Palm will join us from Circa Sports. He is the VP of Operations. It's their big sign-up week out there, and anticipate a big push for those football contests coming up. We've talked about the guarantees, the huge money that's going to be out there. I'm signed up. I'm ready to go. Fingers crossed. we can actually get to the finish line. Now, it would be absolutely ridiculous. Upwards of a $25 million prize pool out there for Circa Survivor, Circa Millions. That's up at $6 million. They have quarterly prizes. Oh, just once. Now, let's be honest. The more realistic thing is not me hitting one of the quarterly prizes. It's me hitting the booby prize. Yeah, they have that as well. A booby prize. If you're the worst in a quarter or throughout the course of the season, you also get paid for that too. So that's probably where we're going to be heading on that front. That's coming up here at about 12:20. Then the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs will wrap things up with our training camp reports with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, at 12:40. And then our picks of the day, as we got college football coming up this weekend. I got a couple of thoughts on that one. We will get into those. Drew will make his picks as well. Drew Reinhardt, my radio producer here at ESPN Des Moines. Yesterday, losing day, I went 2-3. You had one pick, so easy, right? 1-0?
Yeah, you would think.
Nah, not so much.
No, not when Chris Sale is on the mound and he's pitching 9 innings, throwing 11 strikeouts, hitting 100 for the first time since 2010. It's, that's just my luck.
Not a very good one there for that, as your Dodgers are swept away by the Braves. So I pondered this yesterday with you. We were talking about the Dodgers. And quick baseball note before we get back into, of course, football. The Dodgers, and we were wondering, they got swept by the Cubs last time out. And I was taking a look at the record. Here's one thing for you. All right. The Dodgers, when you look at their opponents, and let me bring up my tab here that has them all listed. All right. Their record against the Braves is 1-5 now. Against the Cubs are 2-4. Not very good on that front. You put together this group of teams. You ready for this group? This is 7 teams that they played this year. The Rockies, the Mets, the Angels, the Pirates, the Nationals, the Royals, and the Twins. That's a bad group of baseball teams.
Yeah.
Their record against those teams is 34-5.
Wow.
34-5. Saying, well, you're not going to take those games away. However, against everybody else, against everybody that isn't complete dog crap, this Dodgers team's not very good.
No.
I don't know if we want to read into that, but as I was going through and I wanted to see their numbers against other teams, it just jumped out to me. Their record against really the worst of the worst in baseball. Twins, Royals, Nationals, Pirates, Angels, Mets, Rockies, 34-5. So let's do a little math here. 34. All right. So subtract that. So they are 56-49 against everybody else.
Oh my God.
It's over.
It is.
Put it down right now. We're calling it. Drew's team, the run is over.
I'm not going to go there just yet, but I am getting a little worried here, especially with October right around the corner.
So this piece, as we look at the American League and the ridiculous wild card, as we have the Guardians, at least they're above 500 now, holding the final wild card spot. There is a team, though. The Twins have a pretty easy schedule. They're cooked. They're done. But the Mariners, in the ALCS last year, I saw they have the easiest schedule the rest of the way. So if you're somebody that believes in that, the Mariners might be a team. So that's our little baseball talk here. We hit it for a minute and a half. That's probably enough baseball here on a Football Friday. Let's get back into the football. Before that, a couple of headliners for today. First of all, last night, went out to Valley Stadium, saw the event out there. We talked about it yesterday. The volleyball matches that happened at Valley Stadium. What a cool event. Marge White, who is a longtime administrator in West Des Moines, she also was the one that helped start the volleyball program, was the volleyball coach for 21 years, passed away a number of years ago, but they've done this kind of preseason, kick off the season type of either triangular, quadrangular, bunch of teams coming together and kind of keeping her memory alive over in West Des Moines. So they decided, we're going to go outdoors. We're going to do this thing. What a scene. Absolutely beautiful. Just seeing them on the football field. You had the 2 courts there. It was a really cool event. You could see the excitement from the girls as they were getting out there and playing in an environment like that. A really good crowd on hand also for a volleyball match in August. We think about volleyball when we get to the state tournament, the stands packed up, but good crowd on hand for that one. Really, really cool event. Valley pulled it off incredibly well and definitely gets things jumped up here for a volleyball season. Waukee Northwest, the defending champions in Class 5A. They got D1 players up and down the court. They are absolutely loaded. The team they played last year in the state championship, who they swept, Ankeny Centennial, they swept them in the first game. And then Valley came back after losing to Waukee, and then they beat Waukee Northwest. So the win streak is over at 22 straight for Waukee Northwest, but still going to be a great season, as we know here in Central Iowa, the domination that we see from that front. Well, as that was happening and I was out there, we are back once again with our friends Lucas and Sean over at Beyond the Bench and the Rush Radio Network. And for the last few years, we have done an NCAA college football, the video game. We've been playing that and playing a dynasty. Well, we just play one season. We play it week to week, stay on the same path that they do for the college football season. We have 32 people that are drawn, random entries that are people that put in each and every year. So we're back again. And as I'm doing this, and all of a sudden I get the text from Lucas as I was in between matches, hey, you're up. Because you get a draft order, and then you just draft the team that you're going to be. So since I was not partaking in the draft at the time, I didn't know who was available. He gave me a rundown and a list, and he said, Sean's up after you. Sean Roberts, a huge Notre Dame fan. And who is available? The Fighting Irish. I hate Notre Dame. I grew up Irish Catholic, and I despise Notre Dame. I'll tell you, I went there to a game. It is incredible. We'll leave that to the side. I hate Notre Dame. I'm going to use the green jerseys all the time, and I hope I lose them every single time. I might throw the season. I might try to go 5-7 and be the first team, I think, ever user team to have a losing season in our dynasty league that we play in here. But because I knew Sean was after me, I had to take the Irish. And I did. He's incredibly sad. He's disappointed. That's okay. But the big news is not about us playing video games and us nerds out there on the sticks and the old man trying to keep up with the young guys. And those guys, they can play the game at a different level, certainly, than I can. The big news is that Beyond the Bench, who's been off for the last couple of weeks, they're coming back on Monday. They will be back on the Rush Radio Network. Looking forward to that, of having Sean and Lucas back. They'll be out at Shields on Monday. And then on Friday of next week, we got a fun event going on, speaking of Shields, with them. It's the Rush Radio Network and Shields Punt, Pass, and Kick Challenge. You can register right now for your chance to be selected as one of the finalists competing in the live football skills competition. It's coming up a week from today. Friday, September 4th, we'll be out at Valley Stadium. Pre-game tailgate as well with our friends at Shields. They're going to have a grill out there. So get there a little bit early. Stop by, say hello to us. Sean and Lucas will also be broadcasting live from 4 until 6 there at Valley Stadium. We'll be set up just right next to the north parking lot over there, over on the grass side of things is where we'll be set up for that one with the live show and with our friends at Shields. But an opportunity for you to win some great prizes, including the top winner, $250 gift card to Shields. Second place, $100 gift card. Top 5 are all going to get a gift card from Shields. Coming up Friday, September 4th, a week from today. The contest will happen from 3 until 4, leading into Beyond the Bench coming up at 4 o'clock from Valley Stadium. Just go right now to therushradio.com. You'll find the promotion tab there. Get signed up for your chance to compete. Have some fun. Going to be a great time next Friday out at Valley Stadium. So those are a couple of the news items, and there is a lot going on. I feel like I can't catch up. There's just so much happening, so many different things you want to get into. You hear our guest list today. There's so many people on Fridays that I want to talk to going into the football season. That is just a big one. If Ken was still with me and didn't retire on me, I know we'd probably bring up Connor Hellebuck, who wants to trade from his Winnipeg Jets, and he's going to be sad about that one. No doubt about it. But a couple of things to get into. Mention week 0 and this launch off of the season of college football and the way that it comes at us. And it does feel weird. You know, last year we had Iowa State in it, and there was a lot of build up and lead off and getting off to the great start with that win against K-State a year ago over there. But as we've waited for this season, and I know it deals with Labor Day, and that's the reason that feels like we had almost an extra week here before we actually got to football season. I will tell you, though, this is going to be our reality. When you look at the college football calendar and what is coming down the line, we look at the future of this sport, and it's crazy, and it's wild. And we say, throw out the term wild, wild west, and I don't even think that begins to describe it. It is unlawfulness to the nth degree. That is what college athletics has been to a certain level all the time, but it's gone to a different level at this point. And so there's another judge now that's looking to put an injunction in for the athletes trying to come back for the NFL. It's a mess. College athletics are a mess. But what we care about most here is not that. Those are off-season topics. What we care about is the game on the field. And the game that we see today and what it's going to look like going forward is going to change. We are going to see an expansion of the college football playoff. I love 12. I think it is a great number. But selfishly, as an Iowa fan, for you out there listening as a Cyclone fan, for everybody else, you might be a Badger fan or a Gopher fan or a Husker fan or a Missouri Tiger fan in our border states. All those programs, you know what's better than 12? It's 24. It is a realistic, attainable goal for a team each and every year. In the Big Ten West, yes, winning that crappy division, that was attainable. And the old Big 12 North, yes, that was an attainable goal for Iowa State back in the day. This is something that is realistic. Sure, shot in the dark, once in a decade, all these programs can have those special kind of seasons. But year in and year out, to get to 9-3, get into the playoff, Heck, maybe even an 8-4 is going to get you in some years. It is something realistic. Are you going to win a national championship? No. But guess what? Those programs that I just mentioned are not going to win a national championship in a 4-team era, the 2-team era, an 8-team era, 12, 16, 24. It doesn't matter. It's not about a national championship in football for so many of these programs. And I know a lot of you will say, well, look at Indiana. Indiana, you said the exact same thing about the Hoosiers, and I did. And you'd be right. Indiana also got an infusion of cash. And those programs, for the most part, outside of maybe Nebraska, are realistically not going to get that same kind of infusion that Indiana did. And they also got what looks to be a once-in-a-generation coach. Good luck finding that guy. And everybody's going to be searching for the next Kurt Zanetti. But this is something that is realistic. And this is going to be when we are going to be starting college football season. We will not have to hear the term anymore, week 0. That will go away this weekend coming up, year after year after year. This is going to be the new week 0. Week 1 will be this weekend, and we will kick things off because when you look at the calendar, in order for that to happen, to get a bye, maybe 2 bye weeks in before the season. Conference championship games when the expansion happens. And I say when the expansion happens to 24. It's going to happen. We are going to get there, and I believe sooner rather than later. And when it does, this will be the beginning of the college football season. Everybody will be playing this week, and that is what it's going to look like in order to get those games in. You wrap things up at the Thanksgiving weekend, as we traditionally do. There'll be potentially a bye week in between before we get into that 24-team bracket. This is going to be our new reality. Well, as mentioned, we got a ton to get into today. Let's talk some Cyclones, let's talk some Hawkeyes, college football as a whole. We'll talk some gambling, and we'll talk NFL and the Chiefs with Mitch Holthus. A busy show here on a Football Friday, as we do for you each and every Football Friday. It is the Lunch Rush with Trent, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines. Stay right there. We're back with more in a moment as we talk Cyclones with Eugene Rapay.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value and Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value and Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value and Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist or accepting new patients, I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1300 50th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care. If you've always wanted to join the big football contest in Vegas, but didn't know who could help you, I got the answer. Footballcontest.com. Matt and Tony have helped me with my contest signups with Circa Millions and Circa Survivor, and they can do the same for you. And you're also setting up your proxy with somebody from Iowa, somebody you can trust. Tony grew up in Ankeny and has been a well-respected proxy for a number of years, who has helped her customers win millions of dollars in these contests. Just visit footballcontest.com, footballcontest.com to learn more.
Looking for your next big pull? Head to the Rookie Sports Cards in Clyde, your destination for sports cards, collectibles, and all the excitement of the hobby. Whether you're hunting for the newest rookies, building your collection, or searching for that perfect card, the Rookie Sports Card has something for every collector. From baseball to football, basketball, and more, your next great find could be waiting for you. The Rookie Sports Cards in Clyde. Collect the game you love. Football season is here, and while your team is playing defense on the field, Yardline Pest Control is playing defense at home. Yardline is locally owned and operated, ready to protect your home from ants, spiders, mice, and other unwanted pests. So don't let pests run up the score this fall. Call Yardline Pest Control and enjoy pest-free football watching all season long. Yardline Pest Control, your home's best defense. And use promo code PC for 50% off your initial treatment.
Back to the biggest stories in sports. The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Taking you through a football Friday, it is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. Eugene Rapay, he was up in Ames, and that'll be his second home coming up this football basketball season. Eugene, another weekend before the season begins for real. A little bit different than what we had a year ago with the matchup against K-State to kick off week 0 last season. Different kind of field, different regime, no doubt, but one thing has remained the same, and that was the decision to continue on with the Victory Day celebration. I know you're out there for that last night. Eugene, welcome in, and tell us a little bit about how things went last evening.
Oh, man, it was awesome. This was actually my first ever Victory Day experience last year with the Ireland game and all that. It really was tough to attend that right before travel, and everyone had to go across the pond. So this year was finally an opportunity to go see it. And from what I've been told, just talking to other people at Iowa State, that Jimmy Rogers kept the whole format the same. And it was just an awesome, awesome night. So many kids came out. I was told it was 20 more than last year. There were 86 participants in total. So many smiles on people's faces. The players seemed to really enjoy it. I've spoke to newcomers who were new to the tradition. They had a blast. For them, it lived up to the high expectations that they had heard from their teammates. And then those who have been through it for a bunch of times, like the Connor Moberleys, the Zamir Hawks, they enjoyed it and had so much fun as well. And it was just overall a success and a great way to put a bow on preseason. And starting next week, it'll be business time.
Absolutely. Getting ready for that matchup against Southeast Missouri State. In fact, they play tomorrow 5 o'clock as they'll be in Terre Haute to take on Indiana State. So at least we'll get a little glimpse of them before the matchup against the Cyclones to kick off their season next week. Eugene, we go from kind of the fun part of it and get into the nuts and bolts of this football team. I think that Jimmy Rogers has done an incredible job of giving an opportunity for you guys on the daily beat to get to know this team, and with it, get the fan base to know this team. We go back to the decision by Matt Campbell to leave this program. I mean, there were hurt feelings, and there were other opportunities that were there in the past, and ultimately, this is the one that Matt Campbell decided that he could not pass up. But there were so many Cyclone fans that thought because there were those opportunities in the past, it was never going to happen. I thought it was important for Jimmy Rogers, the rest of the staff, this completely new roster that you have, to kind of learn about them, find out about them, and remember about the jersey and the name that's on the front of it.
Without a doubt. It was awesome to get that kind of access. I think that a lot of the players who've come in, a lot of the new coaches that have come in, they're fully bought into not only what it means to be an Iowa State football player, but also just the community. And it seemed like last night was a good glimpse of that. All the different off-season events, preseason events as well, where there was some interaction with some fans, or for Jimmy Rogers to go on the tailgate tour. They've gotten to see what this means to so many people, and I think that it inspires them even more. I think patience will be a huge theme for the season. There's going to be a lot of curiosity, but I also think patience will be key because it might take a couple of weeks before they really start to gel. We're going to see some week-to-week improvement. There are going to be undoubtedly a lot of kinks to work out in this first game against Southeast Missouri, and I'm very curious to see how they handle that challenge, but also everything that comes ahead. Right now, we've gotten some great interaction. It looks like the players are fully bought in. It looks like there's the confidence and morale and spirit is very high. They're ready to get after it. And I'm sure myself and a bunch of other people, what is this team even going to look like? And we're going to find out soon enough, and we're going to start to see what that product is starting next week and all the weeks to come after that.
One thing I think we all can see is there's going to be a level of physical play that they need to play at and want to play at under Jimmy Rogers. You look at his teams at South Dakota State. Obviously, that was a big part of it. It was Washington State last year. There was that physical element, and with it, it goes into the ground game. You have to be good defensively. All the things of kind of more old school football. And it's crazy in a way, Eugene, because though you're much younger than me, I'm sure you growing up there in the Northeast, you think of Big 12 football, and it was about the air raid and chucking it around and 56, 52 games. Now, this has become a much more physical, a more run-based league when you look across the landscape of these 16 teams. And it feels like Iowa State definitely has an opportunity to compete in a league like this that is built in the way that Jimmy Rogers wants to see them.
It's funny you bring up the air raid. I was just talking about it with a few friends from back home, and I remember being in college and looking at some of these West Virginia Baylor scores and all the different Big 12 scores and seeing, like you mentioned, the 70 to 55s or the Geno Smith throwing for 600 yards and Bryce Petty right behind a couple years after that with 500 and all the different touchdowns. And now it's just such a different ball game, or it's a different era now in the Big 12. And I think that Iowa State, one thing that it does have going for it is its defense. And I think that that's something that seems to be a very driving force for this team going forward. Jimmy Rogers has a lot of his defensive staff from South Dakota State, from Washington State, along for the ride with him. They believe in the system. They've shown that the system works definitely at the FCS level. Last year, there were little tastes of it as well. They had a couple of rough results, but they held their opponents to 14 or fewer points in 8 out of 13 games. So they're very confident in what they can do. And I think that this defense-first mentality, especially having a lot of those transfers from those past successful teams at South Dakota State and Washington State on that side of the ball, is giving them tremendous faith in what that defense can do. And I think that it will at least give them a chance. Like you mentioned, they have a chance to compete. I think once we learn more about this offense and what it'll look like against Tyler Roll, who will be spending his first ever season in the FBS level as offensive coordinator. He has previously done it at the FCS with North Dakota State, and they were obviously such a powerhouse. But I'm curious to see, a few years later, he's obviously developed more as a coach. His offensive mind and arsenal has enhanced and widened over the years, and I'm curious to see what he'll bring as OC. But until then, there's tremendous faith in that defense and what it can do for them game in and game out.
After Tyler Roll, this will also be the first time that'll be able to communicate with his quarterback, because that was not happening at the FCS level back when it was the OC there. So that'll be another interesting element. And from what we've heard of Jalen Rayner, he's going to be ready to go. I mean, he's going to be good there. I did my quarterback rankings in the Big 12. I had him in the top half of the league and maybe even a little bit more upside. In order for that to happen, though, I think they feel pretty good about what they can do in the running game. A lot of different pieces. Earlier this week, you had an opportunity to talk to John Johnson, the running back coach there. Aiden Flora, a ton of buzz about him. Cam Petaway, definitely an intriguing skill set with both those guys that can make plays, not just running, but out of the backfield. And then you throw in a guy like an Arnold Barnes. They got some depth there. This running back spot, one of the spots, maybe not as deep as they would like, but certainly when you talk about the headline guys, they got to feel pretty confident running the football.
They feel very confident running the football. It seems like Aiden Flora, not only are they very high on him, but he's going to get a huge amount of play. And same goes for Cam Petaway. They're going to be a 1A, 1B when it comes to getting the workload. And Cam Petaway, he's been a running back before at Bowling Green. He's spent time in the backfield. But for Aiden Flora, this is going to be a huge uptick in workload. I'm curious to see how he can handle it. Obviously, he's a dynamic returner. He showed off that speed, but I'm curious what's he going to do when he has to get between the tackles? How is he going to handle finding open space or going around the corner, or what's going to happen when the D-line rushes into the backfield and how he handles that? But Arnold Barnes, too, is looking like another game changer. The first two guys mentioned are definitely their more quicker speed backs, but Barnes is a bruising power back who's proven himself at Tulane. He's gotten a good amount of action over the last 2-3 years. And obviously Tulane was also a CFP team last year. So this guy knows what it takes to win or exceed expectations or take a team to places that most people wouldn't think that they could go. So I think right now they have a nice dynamic there too. And I want to also mention Caleb Francois, the true freshman out of Minnesota. There's some good reviews about him as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see him in the rotation at some point of the year. And then River Peppers, who continues to be on an upward trajectory on his recovery from suffering an Achilles injury last October.
You look at this, Eugene, this squad coming up, the great unknown that it is, the anticipation. What have you felt inside the fan base? When you get messages, when you see things on social media about where people are with this team, the excitement of a new regime, a new segment, a new season in front of us. But when you look at the program kind of as a whole, I know tickets are down. It's not the shiniest home schedule coming up this season under the new staff. Where do you just generally kind of put the Cyclone fan base going into the year?
I think it's very mixed. I think it's gotten more positive as we've gotten close to the season, and I don't know if that's just naturally what happens as we get closer to football season. And from what I've seen and from what I've heard and from what I've read, I know that Iowa State fans are very, very loyal. Like, win or lose, like they endured so much in the past before the Matt Campbell era and these recent successful years. And I wouldn't be surprised if they show out again for Jimmy Rogers. But just talking to fans, interacting with some fans on social media, talking with some season ticket holders, it seems like there's like a cautious optimism or maybe a hope that it'll be better than what so many media outlets and so many talking heads are predicting for the Cyclones this season. So I've seen a little bit of both. And honestly, when I see some people give their game-by-game predictions or their week-by-week predictions, it seems to be trending better than what I'd seen 4 or 5 months ago. I think also just with the fans too. I've spoken to some fans who believe that they can go to get bowl eligibility. Some people I've spoken to who were very low in the beginning when the roster got gutted, weren't so optimistic about their future. But now that they've seen how some of the pieces come together and what the system might look like, now we're talking about some people who think that Iowa State can be in position to contend for a bowl game or even finish with 7 wins or 6 wins. So it's a whole mixed bag, honestly. But I think overall, everyone's cautiously optimistic, but also just very curious for these first few weeks. And I think more than anything, people are excited to get it going again.
Well, Eugene, if things do not go well, the good news is not just for the uppity ups, the people that are in the suites, everybody's going to be able to booze inside of Jack Trice Stadium this year. Your colleague Travis Hines at the Register, he had a picture. Now, apparently it was from a concert earlier this year. But, well, as we know, it doesn't matter the event you're going to. You're not going to get a $2 Coors Light. That's not going to be happening. It's going to be a pricey one out there if you're going to drown your sorrows if things aren't going well.
Yes. From what I've heard, they're going to be selling 24-ounce beverages. So the big boy can. There'll be a lot of liquid to go around. I did find that the sign is very interesting. Apparently, it was from an old concert. In my mind, I'm like, I don't know why you'd keep old signs from two months ago. But another thing that I have heard is maybe it's a few dollars lower than the signs that Travis posted. So maybe in the $11, $12 range. We'll see for sure. But I know that, like you mentioned, no matter what the product is this year, there's definitely a metric ton of Cyclone fans who are excited to have some Busch Light in the stadium, but also just have alcohol at games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it a celebration, have some fun, and it's a good thing for everybody, I think, that wants to partake certainly on that front. Well, Eugene, we will talk to you again next Friday. We will come down and we'll put you on the spot, make your official season prediction for Iowa State football. We'll put the pressure on a little bit. And I got a few other things for you throughout the course of next week with all my Cyclone guests. I got some over-unders that I put together. Now, these are not available in the state of Iowa. You cannot play player props with in-state players, but I came up with my own, some yardage ones, some touchdown ones for the players. So we'll have some fun with that as well next Friday, Eugene.
Oh, man, I'm really looking forward to it. It's funny. I saw that high school football is underway again, and honestly, that got me even more excited for college coming up soon.
Jazzed up, no doubt. Eugene, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Always great chopping it up with you.
Eugene Rapay from the Des Moines Register on the Iowa State beat joins us on Fridays here throughout the football and the basketball season. Quick timeout. Back on the other side from the Cyclones to the Hawkeyes. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, is going to join us. We'll talk plenty of Hawkeye football with him, plus a little basketball, the latest on the recruitment of top 10 player Caden Daughtry. So the Hawkeyes actually have a chance. We'll talk about that next. Stay right there. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time living.
Experience the world's largest sports book at your fingertips.
I'm Derek Stevens. I'm a lifelong sports bettor and owner of Circa Sports. We built this platform for bettors that want high limits and total transparency.
Featuring tight money line splits, lowest holds, and exceptional live customer service.
Hi, how may I help you today?
Download your new bookie today, Circa Sports. Start betting like a pro.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time.
Welcome back once again as we take you up until 1 o'clock here this afternoon on a Football Friday, the final one without Hawkeye football before we get into the season. And joining us right now, he is Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com, part of On3. Tom, want to talk a little basketball with you later on and the latest developments for Caden Daughtry, but football is here. You had an opportunity to talk with Kirk on Wednesday. We're inching closer and closer, yet still no name at the quarterback position. How you doing, Tom?
Our long national nightmare is almost over, Trent.
The offseason in the rearview mirror, very excited about that. But I will tell you, I am a bit surprised that we don't have anything official. Now, it is Friday. Maybe there'll be some kind of release that comes out, or maybe a little birdie will whisper something to you or Chad or somebody on the beat, or even a national guy that we've seen in the past. But I thought at this point, we would have an announcement, and certainly after what we saw at Kids Day, that it'd be Jeremy Hecklinski. That is not the case, and we continue to hear that Hecklinski has not had great practices. In the beginning of camp, you told us last week, Tom, it was not a great start to camp for Jeremy Hecklinski. It leads to, I think there's going to be so much angst. There's so much disappointment. It's a tough decision, I know, for the staff, but to linger, to go in, and potentially wait till Monday before the depth chart comes out, I don't know if that's the right path. How do you see it?
It's fascinating. And Kirk kind of joked about it. He goes, yeah, of course, one of the guys was going to have like this magnificent performance in that Kids Day thing. But it's one of those things where, and I've kind of said this over and over again, it's like my eyes saw what my eyes saw at Kids Day. But then I talk to people that I trust, and they're like, yeah, they almost, before Kids Day, just almost wanted to announce that Hank was going to be the starting quarterback because he was outperforming him and has outperformed him. And we even saw like Dave Refson, reputable reporter who was at practice, basically said Hecklinski was not good the day that the Big Ten Network was there. And so my thinking has always been that Tim Lester wants this to go into the season, and he wants to kind of check that final box, if you will, and see how they handle it in a real game situation. And I think that's probably where we're headed, and we'll find out. The ongoing fan theory is that maybe Hank Brown has a little stage fright in those big moments, and maybe Hecklinski is the elusive gamer that just plays good when the lights are on. We'll find out starting on next Saturday.
When we've heard from Tim Lester, he's talked about both the guys. He talked about in one of the podcasts going live. I don't know if it was with Chad or somebody else that I heard, but going live actually here during August camp. I don't think that came to fruition, but You're right. It's different when you don't have that red jersey on. And I think that is certainly one. I like to wear a tinfoil hat from time to time. I will buy into that theory, though, that definitely that could be the case with Hank Brown as opposed to Jeremy Hecklinski. And then from there, also the team. Yes, they're going to all say good things. And, being back at Media Day a couple of weeks ago, it cracks me up. You can see how well schooled they are. You try to pose a question to a wide receiver, anybody throw a better ball, they're not going to give you anything. That's just the way that they're schooled inside the program. I know they're both light guys, but have you got a sense of anything? Have you heard anything about maybe where the team would be leaning right now between the two?
Not really. I've heard from little things from different people, parents of players or things like that, that they have said it's really close. And it may be a slight lean to Hecklinski, but I don't know that those guys really have a preference. I was talking to Anger about this at Anger yesterday on our podcast, and just because he lived through one of those in 2008. And I said, did you guys even think of it? And he's like, we didn't really even concern us. It never came up. Literally never came up. They just went out and played football. So, it's just, I think us on the outside fixate on it probably more than the players do. I don't think they really care one way or another who's out there, because I think they believe in both guys and they like both guys. So I think us on the outside think way, way, way more about this than those guys do.
Well, we have you have pages and pages of the internet to
Yes.
fill, and I have
Yeah.
hours and hours of podcasts and radio to fill. So that's what leads to kind of where we are at this point. One thing we do feel like we know, at least Kirk said it on Wednesday, is that Cale Winter is going to be the starting center. And I didn't realize, I saw Chad's article on the Des Moines Register, Chad Leistikow, who joined me yesterday. What a great article talking about Cale Winter, a guy that was given a 30% chance of survival. And now he's a Big Ten starting center. Not just a great kid, not just a great story, but just absolutely incredible. Feels like one of those things that there might be a BTN special coming up on Cale Winter this fall.
Yeah, what an interesting kid. And, there's so many interesting stories on that offensive line with Mike Myslinski and what he went through physically for, basically 3-4 years of his Iowa career. Janowski, having Hodgkin's lymphoma last year and, have cancer treatments as a 19-year-old kid. And what Cale Winter, I mean, just, I vividly remember I was just kind of talking to Dunker one day, what would have been Winter's freshman year. I'm like, hey, who's some guy to watch? And he goes, Cale Winter, really like him. I think he's going to do good things here. And I was like, okay, file that one away, the Dunker advice. And here we are. And, he's going to be the starting center for the Iowa football team. And I think he's going to do a terrific job.
This offensive line has a chance to be really good again. Is it going to be as good as last year? That's a very tall task. They won the Joe Moore Award, but with the stable running backs, with the tight ends, with the wide receivers, and a good offensive line, we've had those question marks about the defense. Tom, there's a part of me, and we know Kirk likes to go back in history. You and I, as old guys, we like to go back in history a little bit. This kind of reminds me of the 2001 team. We know what 2002 led into, but that was a prolific offense. The problem, they couldn't get a whole lot of stops on the defensive side of the football. Could you see maybe something similar here, building blocks to 2027, but a team that actually can score and can move the ball throughout the year, but maybe struggles more than we're used to on the defensive side of the football?
If they get the quarterback thing figured out, yeah. Because I think all the pieces are there, right? I think they've got a good offensive line. You got two guys that saw a mock NFL draft, had both those guys going in the first round this week. So, it's just with Lauk and with Pieper, and Kirk was praising Jack Dotzler, and I've heard the same thing, that he's been really good in camp. And Leighton Jones, I think it was George Barnett. No, it was Lester said Leighton Jones has been as good as Bo Stevens was last year in camp. So they've got guys that can play, and then you've got a stacked running back room. You upgrade the wide receivers. We know at tight ends, those three top tight ends with DJ and DJV and Thomas Meyer and Absalom Stringa are going to be really good. That's three potential NFL guys, I think, right there. So they've got the weapons. Now it's just, can they get the quarterback thing right? And that's kind of the, as I said, last box that they need to check.
Last box to figure out, lingering into the season. Not, I don't think, what anybody wanted to hear, but we'll be able to see it a week from tomorrow, as it will be Northern Illinois making their way in. Tom, we've also talked a ton about the special teams, and Kirk seemed encouraged by punter at minimum, and then he talked about maybe a short punter and a long punter. They did that with Reggie Roby back in the day for a while. They've done that in the past. We've seen that at a couple of different times with multiple punters, but Kirk seemed encouraged, and if there's anybody that knows punting, it's Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah, he seems like he's okay with them. Every once in a while, there'll be a clunker, like at Kids Day when we saw Austin Everett put one in the seats, and not in a good way.
No.
But maybe they're doing well. It's interesting that they haven't figured either of those positions out, and maybe maybe they're all performing really well, and it's just trying to pick a good. But I always think if you can't pick one, then that means that there's flaws there. So we'll see if they can get this figured out. But I don't know if it's much fun having two different punters or having two different place kickers. I don't think two different place kickers is very good at all. I think you got to just go with the guy and see how they do.
Back on Monday in the Big Ten tour with the Big Ten Network, I thought maybe the most encouraging thing is the superlatives that were being thrown out about Bryce Hawthorne. Tom,
Yeah.
I've mentioned it to you. I know this summer at one point that I think he's the most important player. Yes, I get quarterback. I know there's probably guys that have more NFL pedigree, but because of the lack of depth at defensive tackle, I think he is so important. And if he plays at that kind of level, boy, does that completely change the equation and all the angst that we've had this offseason about defensive tackle. If Bryce Hawthorne is second team all Big Ten this year, Bill Parker's defense, I think, is going to be back.
I've been encouraged by what I heard from Phil in that Big Ten Network thing and just talking to Kelvin Bell at Media Day. I was a little more encouraged because I had a lot of questions, and I still really do have a lot of questions about the defensive line and what they're able to do. But, because they were talking about playing 10 to 12 guys, and now it's down to 6 to 8, and maybe they've just kind of figured out that, hey, playing like 6 to 8 guys along that defensive line is the right thing to do. And maybe 6 to 8 guys have kind of separated themselves from that pack. And so, yeah, you got Bryce Hawthorne, and, Kenneth Merriweather is back out there. He's been dinged up early in camp, and that's a defensive end that they really feel good about. Amari Brown, they feel good about. Yosef Vanessa, Drew Campbell. Luke Gaffney's name got brought up by KF the other day. So that's another name to watch. Devin Kennedy came up from Phil, which is encouraging because I've been waiting for that kid to take that next step. So maybe they've got the guys now, and they feel good about it, and they will perform better than I think maybe we thought a month ago.
Two more quick football ones before we get into Caden Daughtry and his recruitment on the basketball side. Starting with what we're seeing in the defensive backfield. Tyler Brown, you had this a while back, and you told us here on the program, and appreciate that, Tom, that it was looking iffy for him to come back, and Kirk confirmed that certainly on Wednesday. That means Anthony Hawkins, the transfer from Villanova, likely will be back there at strong safety. I have this question for you. We know they love Tyler Brown. I mean, you go back to the spring, and I went through and listened to an interview afterwards, and there's a lot of love for him. If he's back healthy, hamstrings okay, and you also see Anthony Hawkins play at a high level, could you see some shuffling and potentially maybe Zach Lutmer going back to Cash? I know it depends also on how Jacob Wallace plays there, but if Hawkins is almost in a way shows he's too good to take off the field, coupled with Tyler Brown coming back, could that lead to some shuffling in the defensive backfield?
Potentially down the road, but I think they're more comfortable with those guys both at strong right now. And if Wallace were struggling, maybe then you get Lutmer in there. But I think they want Lutmer back there because he's the experienced guy and the guy that can kind of make sure everybody's in the right spot and make sure people are doing the right thing and erase mistakes at the back end. So I think that's part of the thought process there. So it would take time. I think they'd want to see Tyler Brown out there and performing well before they would make any sort of decision like that.
And on Jacob Wallace, he is a smaller guy. He's a cornerback. They've had all kinds of different body types, from the long, lanky guy in Dane Belton to the thick, strong guy in Sebastian Castro, all kinds of guys. Wallace is maybe, I think, the smallest guy they've had out there, though, at this Cash position. Does that lead you to believe that maybe we're going to see a little bit more 4-3 this season because it's not that more physical kind of Cash position guy?
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think the game is kind of evolving a little bit. We're gonna see maybe less and less of the 3 wide, 4 wide kind of things that caused them trouble in the past, and maybe it's the spread offenses are going to, instead we're getting 3 tight ends, and if you're getting 2 or 3 tight ends, you're going to be in 4-3 because you want to put that bigger body out there, so you'll have like a Landon Van Kekricks or not Buffington, but Dirk Weiskopf out there, as that third linebacker that can give them more support in the run. And I think we're going to see more of that. Just, that's just how things go. We go from, 4 wides and spreading it out to now the cool thing is to have 2 and 3 tight ends out there, and because you've got so many big athletes that you can put at those positions.
Tom, you a couple of times this summer are pretty optimistic about Caden Daughtry. He had his list of his final 14, which really I think is a list of seven official visits that he has set up. Starting this weekend, he'll be at Florida State, an in-state school, Tennessee after that. He'll be in Iowa for Cyhawk Week, UConn, Florida, Miami, and Arkansas. We knew it was going to be difficult to land him, but after we saw the list coupled with his official visits, a more difficult task now to land Caden Daughtry than maybe you were just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, because I kind of just operate based on what we know, facts over feelings kind of thing, and take the emotion out of it. And it was weird because I talked to him in July and he's like, yeah, after Peach Jam, I'm going to put out a list of like 10 or 11 schools and, and set some officials. And he put out that list of 14. So he added a couple, but he got a couple of interesting offers, I think, during that time. In between that time, one of them being Arkansas, and I think Kentucky offered during that time too. So his adds in some extra schools into that mix, but it's I still don't think you rarely see guys take 7 visits.
Yeah.
You just don't see it, especially consecutive like that. If you might see them take 7 total, if they do some of them in the spring and then do some of them in the fall, then you might get the 7. But you just don't see it very often. So I think if he makes it to 5 visits, I'd be surprised. I think he'll kind of just say, you know what, I've seen what I need to see. I think the dicey thing for Ben McCollum is going. I mean, I can't tell you how important that visit is going to be and how important it's going to be for them to be able to, quote unquote, read the room, to kind of get a feel for like, hey, is this guy stringing us along, or is he serious? Are we, are we the old thing with Kirk Ferentz used to say is, are we holding hands or are we getting married? It's that's what they got to figure out, and that's maybe going to be really hard. Maybe it'll be pretty simple, and you get that feel and say, you know what? I think we got to stay in this. I think we're going to get him, or you just get that feeling like, hey, this isn't going to work, and we got to move on to Jackson Davis because Jackson Davis will be in the next weekend. I think that's those 2 weeks in September are going to define kind of what Iowa basketball is going to do in terms of recruiting, because I know that Jackson Davis really likes Iowa, and I think they would get him on that weekend. I really do. But Caden Daughtry's different. Yeah. He's different. I mean, if you could get him, that you take him 10 times out of 10 because he's that good.
Difficult spot, no doubt. Ben McCollum, though, in Ben we trust. I think that's the Hawkeye fan base as a whole after year number 1, no doubt. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, part of On 3. As always, Tom, appreciate it. Next week, yes, we'll be a day away from football. Can't wait until we get into Iowa football season. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Thanks, Trent.
Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Check it out. And an opportunity for you to get involved, all the great work that they do. Him, Blair Sanderson, Kyle Huseman, whole staff do a great job at HawkeyeReport.com. Hour in the books, one more to go. We kick it off talking college football on the national scene. Bama Bob is back. Presented by Lozier Heating and Cooling. We're talking with Bama, previewing week 0 when we come back, and some thoughts on the Power 4. All next on the Lunch Rush. next great find could be waiting for you. The Rookie Sports Cards in Clive. Collect the game you love.
KRNT Des Moines is 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN, a Des Moines Media Group station. Your local solution to get your business wanted, found, and chosen. The biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Hour number 2, welcome back. It is The Lunch Rush here on ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network. You can watch the show each and every day there as well on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching us there, and helps all of our programs starting each and every morning with the Morning Rush. It is Ross Peterson and Travis Justice that get you started each and every morning from 6 until 8 o'clock. And back on Monday, Sean and Lucas Beyond the Bench will be back on the Rush Radio Network. Coming up here tonight, Week 1 of high school football begins as we will bring you Johnston on the road against Waukee at our Central Iowa game of the week that comes up. 6:45 with the pregame show. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight with the Dragons and the Warriors. Well, here is a guy that definitely remembers being on the sidelines and being out at high school football back in the day. He is our buddy Bama Bob Waldrop, who is our college football analyst here on the program. And good to catch up. I know you had a big trip this summer, Bama. Good to hear your voice once again. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Trent, and I got to tell you, I'm so glad you're back where you belong on local radio there in Des Moines. The market is better for it. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for the listeners and the audience, and I appreciate having me back again.
Absolutely. And a big thank you to Logier Heating and Cooling, our presenting sponsor of Bama twice a week throughout the college football season, as he will join us. We preview things on Fridays, and then we recap what we saw on Mondays. Now, it's not quite the same because we don't have our friend Ken Miller, who decided to retire. You're not going to go retiring on me, are you, Bama?
I wish, buddy. I'll tell you what. But no, I don't. I've got a few more years in me, I hope. You mentioned me, although I tell you, my first trip into, I guess Iceland is Europe. I'm not sure, but first trip overseas or in the middle of the sea. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't mind traveling a little bit more. I wouldn't mind being in Dublin tomorrow. That's for sure. For TCU, North Carolina, but we'll cover that in a minute, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to get into a few of the Week 0 matchups, and of course, we'll preview the whole slate coming up next week with Week 1 upon us. Bama, before we get into that, though, it has been such a tumultuous offseason. What we've just seen recently with the guys trying to go with Lane to LSU, you got guys getting cut or just leaving NFL training camps thinking they're going to go back. The Big Ten comes out and says, no, we're not going to do that. The SEC follows. Now the ACC is following, and the Big 12. So we go down that route. We had that. Brennan Sorsby, which dominated about a month of conversation about him. Will he, won't he? The injunction that was put in place. There is just so much extra. I know we're excited to be it, but every offseason is crazy. Was this maybe the craziest offseason for college football that we've had?
I think it ranks right up there. Maybe I don't know how many years, 2 or 3 years ago, the when the Pac-12 basically imploded, right? And you had everybody scrambling. You've got Stanford and Cal in the ACC, and you've got Oregon and Washington in the Big Ten, and the real that off season was a little bit nuts. But this one, I don't want to say it tops it, but it's right up there. I mean, I can't think of any crazier one that we've had. And it's you mentioned the how many times over the years, Trent, I was thinking about this, have we said, wow, that team has NFL talent on their roster? Well, LSU really has NFL talent on their roster because of Lane Kiffin, with the whole, cutting these guys that go to camp, they can't make it. They don't want to play on the practice squad, so they're going to come back and double their salary in college. And I saw today where a judge has just said, all these conferences came out and said, no, we're not going to allow this. Well, the judge just blocked an order, I guess, blocking the conferences from blocking Lane Kiffin, if you want to. I mean, it's just crazy. But if ever a school and a coach were a perfect fit, it's Lane Kiffin and LSU, because either one they don't care about the rules. Mm-hmm. They don't care about anything other than winning in any way possible. But it has been crazy. I'm glad that, amongst all the craziness, the realignment, NIL, portal, all this kind of stuff, that we're finally going to tee it up. And eventually that's what all that matters. All the off-season stuff is we can argue about it. We can long for it the way we wish it used to be. Not going back to the way it was. It's never going back that way. So at least we finally get to, put a ball on a tee and kick it off.
Well, that is a deep look already at the SEC, Bama. And for people that are maybe new to the program or new to our conversations, Bama, no, we don't just talk SEC football. We talk all college football with Bama. You just happen to be down there and also a Bama fan on top of it, just like my wife is. And we went to a game over 15 years ago. Man, that was a long time ago with Alabama, Tennessee. Absolutely love it. But I want to talk a little more about the SEC. And I told you, give me kind of a take or just a thought as we go into the season in each of the conferences. No, Ken is no longer here. That means we are not going to start with the ACC because nobody cares. We're moving past that and the arguments that we'd have each and every week about the ACC, though we will touch on it from time to time. Let's start in the SEC. You mentioned Lane, obviously a huge headline. And a question that still remains for me with the SEC is 3 consecutive national championships from the Big Ten. What is the concern level like down there about the stranglehold that they had on this national championship run? What was it, 16 out of 19 years? Something ridiculous like that. Are people wanting to admit, are they kicking and screaming that things are much different now in college football?
They'll never admit that the Big Ten is better, but the Big Ten's better. I mean, and it's not just that they've won 3 in a row. They've won it with 3 different schools. So I think that is one of those things where you kind of got to look and go, But yeah, I mean, it's all, and of course, the natural reaction for everybody down here is to fire the coach, whatever coach he has, whether it's at LSU or wherever. Kalen DeBoer's on the hot seat. I can tell you that right now at Alabama. We'll get to that as soon as the year goes along. To bring in a coach, they don't care how. They don't care if you raid like LSU raided Ole Miss, right? They don't care if it's in the middle of a playoff. Okay, they're gonna get their guy. They're gonna pay him whatever they have to pay him. They're gonna pay whatever it costs to get rid of the other guy. And oh, by the way, they're going to spend $50 million assembling a roster for 1 year. That's how it is down here. They will, again, I wish I could adequately describe it. You've been to a game. It's like that every week in every stadium down here. It's just, it is our pro sports, literally now. There's not a big NFL footprint if you really look at, the core of the SEC. So, they've fallen. They will never admit that they've fallen behind. They'll never admit that the Big Ten is better, but I think they know it, and they're doing whatever they can by whatever method they can, legal, illegal, whatever, to try to alter that. But ultimately, again, you have to tee it up, and you have to beat the teams in front of you, and then argue about whether you belong in the playoff as a 3-loss team or not. So there's a lot of pressure on a lot of guys down here, but Again, I'm excited to see it come out. And there's no more rebuild. There's no more easing into it. I've seen a couple of clips this year, on different national shows that say, listen, Lane Kiffin's under a lot of pressure. And he has to make the playoff this year. I know it's year 1, but there's no more culture building. We know what Lane Kiffin is all about in terms of culture. We know what LSU is about in terms of culture. Again, you've gone out, you've got the coach you wanted, you've got the roster you wanted. You have to win this year, and if you don't, they'll be screaming for him next year. So it's the pressure is I would say the pressure down here is unparalleled to any conference in the country. But the Big Ten has passed them by, and they've done it methodically. They've done it surprisingly. Obviously, nobody saw Indiana coming in and being in the national championship. 3, 4, 5 years ago, that would have been unheard of. But here they are as the defending national champions. But yeah. I think when it boils down to it, though, it's still going to be, Georgia, Texas. Nobody's talking about Georgia this offseason. Nobody. It's LSU. It's the pressure at Alabama. It's Arch Manning at Texas. It's, new coaches at Auburn, Ole Miss, coming off of there. Well, how about that LSU at Ole Miss game, man? I cannot wait for that week 3. Talk about nasty. But nobody's talking about Georgia. And I think they're going to be right in the thick of it again. So I think it's going to be the same old players in terms of maybe the conference, but then we get into the whole debate. How much do you really want to win your conference now? Do you really need that extra game? Does it going to hurt you? Does it matter if you win an SEC championship or make an SEC championship? So a lot of that to be discussed, but yeah, it's business as usual down here. But there's a lot of teams that are hungry. That's for sure.
No doubt. We're talking with Bama Bob, our college football analyst. It's presented by Logier Heating and Cooling. Bama, we got a few games to get into here in our final 5 minutes or so, though. A quick hit, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, anything that jumps out to you? Just what are the talking points from one of the conferences that intrigues you most going into the year?
I think the Big 10, I mean, look, you got Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana, right? Those are the top three. And I think all three of those are playoff teams. I can't, it would be a major upset to me if, I don't care if it's, at large, winning the conference, whatever. If those three are not in the part of the 12-team playoff, to me, that would be a story. But you've got some other teams. You got Matt Campbell now. Everybody's familiar with him, obviously, at Penn State. You've got a proven winner in Kyle Whittingham in Michigan. You've got Lincoln Riley again out at USC. Is this going to be the year? I don't think it is. I've been on record that over the past few years with you and Ken, that I just think that has been not a disaster, but it certainly hasn't produced anything for all the money they have and that they spent and the talent that they've recruited. So the Big 10 to me is very interesting. The Big 12, I think it's going to be, Texas Tech's just trying to outspend everybody, and that's a conference that you probably can outspend most people. Oklahoma State, a lot of excitement, I guess, about Chad Morris. I don't know. I mean, they're going to be better because they can't be worse. So, I guess he took, most of the roster with him up to Stillwater. And then, you mentioned the ACC. Look, I mean, you got to talk a little bit about them this year because Miami, I think, is that team that's going to be in the mix in the playoffs. And, who else is going to come out of it? Clemson, the disaster that has been Bill Belichick at North Carolina. I think that's going to continue, and that's going to be a story. I don't expect him to finish the year. I really don't. I think they're going to get fed up with it. I think he's going to finally realize, what in the hell am I doing in Chapel Hill? But yeah, a lot of stories that I'm sure we'll get into as the year goes along.
No doubt. Well, we have games. Well, we already had games last night. Drake lost to the South Dakota School of Mines. Not a great way to kick off a new era for the Bulldogs here on a Thursday night. But yeah, there was some FCS games. There's some more this weekend. I'm going to be watching Southeast Missouri State. That's who Iowa State plays. They play Indiana State coming up at 5 o'clock tomorrow. But we're here to talk about the FBS games, and it kicks off Chapelville, North Carolina against TCU. Some people like TCU as that dark horse team in the Big 12. North Carolina, that defense did get better in the back half of last season. What do you expect to see as we begin in Dublin?
Well, this is one of those really intriguing games, because obviously it's not breaking news. You never know what you're going to get week one. Just like in the NFL, you don't know, right? Until you tee it up. But you don't know what you're going to get. North Carolina, this game was played last year in Chapel Hill. Remember everything surrounding that game with Lawrence Taylor and Michael Jordan and just absolute Carolina royalty back, and they lose the game and they go on. I think they finished 4-8, whatever it was, 5-7 last year, and all the turmoil off season. Mike Lombardi, the general manager, I guess now is gone, or is under suspension, whatever. There's some questions around his son, who is the defensive coordinator. I don't know if that's help. I don't know what that is. I haven't really dug too deep into it, and again, you've got a guy on the sideline. He's starting to look like that Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno kind of figurehead, right? I mean, the days of fear that he used to cast into people in the pros is over. And I just think TCU, I agree with you. I like TCU this year. I know they lost a quarterback. They're replacing him. But I like TCU certainly in this game. And I think they could be a dark horse in the Big 12. But again, until you really get into the meat of it, I don't see North Carolina. Yes, they've got a lot back on defense, but again, how involved is Belichick really in this, and how did they construct this roster? I could be wrong. Listen, I was wrong about Deion at Colorado in terms of him staying and that sort of thing. I thought he'd leave when his son and Hunter left, but he didn't. I just don't see this ending well for North Carolina, and I certainly like TCU tomorrow.
One more for you. It's a ACC battle. It was supposed to be played in Brazil. Nobody wanted to go. NC State, who we fall in love with at some point every single season, and then they disappoint, going up against Virginia, who was the surprise of the ACC a year ago. Yes, I think even more surprising than Duke that won the conference crown. This matchup, if it was in October, it'd be on our list and we'd never get to it. But Bama, your thoughts on this one to kick off the ACC season?
Yeah, I love this one being a conference game in week 0, right? You get a lot of these kind of weird matchups or, matchups like Memphis-Vegas is a really good game late on Fox. That be tuned into that one as well. But this the only conference game, I think, in week 0. Virginia, look, they were a playoff team last year and they couldn't beat Duke in the conference championship. That opened the door for James Madison, which opened the door to change all the rules for the playoffs because, oh my gosh, we can't have 2 group of 5 teams in. That's not fair. But again, NC State, like you said, is a team that we used to talk about a lot. It's kind of our dark horse. I think Ken picked them a couple times to win the ACC. And then, of course, when you break out the notebook at the end of the year, you got a big fat 0 for that. I like this game being in Charlottesville. I have no idea who's going to win. I'll be honest with you. Like I said, it's the ACC. We usually don't talk about that much, but I just like the fact that you have a conference game in week 0 between 2 teams that are probably middle of the pack. I don't think either one of them is going to press for a playoff this year, but who knows, right? You never know with this, but I just like it being a conference game to kick off week 0, and it's going to be 2:30 ESPN. It's not going to be one of those 95-degree heat days. You should get a little nice weather in Charlottesville, so I will definitely be tuned into that one. A nice little doubleheader for ESPN to kick off the year.
Bama Bob, our college football analyst here on the Lunch Rush, is presented by Logier Heating and Cooling. Bama, great to catch up. And let's Monday, if you got time, let's get back together. And maybe it'll be time to go on record because we'll be previewing next Friday. Maybe we need to go on record on Monday. So I'm going to give you a little homework. How about that?
There you go. Got it. I'll get to it right away. And again, thanks for having me back. And it's great to have you back where you belong, bud.
Thank you so much. That's Bama Bob. College football talk each and every week, twice a week, presented by Logier Heating and Cooling. Back on the other side, we go to Vegas. Mike Palm. He's the VP of Operations at Circa Sports. And he's next on the Lunch Rush. Stay right there.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value and Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value and Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value and Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts. Let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
Win or lose, every game night is better with ice cream. Celebrate after the game at the Outside Scoop in Grimes, serving homemade, hand-dipped ice cream made locally with over 32 delicious flavors to choose from. Grab a fresh homemade waffle cone, a creamy shake, or a pint of your favorite flavor to take home. So after the final buzzer sounds, make the Outside Scoop in Grimes your next stop. The Outside Scoop, everything's better with a scoop. Is your HVAC system on the fritz? Don't sweat it. Call Logier Heating and Cooling, your local Des Moines comfort expert. We're locally owned and operated, so we know the needs of our community. We're not about high-pressure sales. We're about doing things the right way. That means sending trained, certified technicians, not salespeople, to your door. Our technicians will diagnose your system's problem and recommend the best course of action. When you call us at Logier, you're always speaking with a live person ready to help. We understand your comfort is important, and we'll do everything we can to get your HVAC system back into top condition. Experience the Logier difference. Call us today for a free estimate or to schedule a service call. Your comfort is our priority.
If you've always wanted to join the big football contest in Vegas, but didn't know who could help you, I got the answer. Footballcontest.com. Matt and Tony have helped me with my contest signups with Circa Millions and Circa Survivor, and they can do the same for you. And you're also setting up your proxy with somebody from Iowa, somebody you can trust. Tony grew up in Ankeny and has been a well-respected proxy for a number of years, who's helped her customers win millions of dollars in these contests. Just visit footballcontest.com, footballcontest.com to learn more.
The headlines keep coming, and the conversation keeps rolling. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
Welcome back here as we take you up until 1 o'clock on a football Friday. Week 1 of the high school slate is upon us tonight. It'll be Waukee facing off against Johnston in our Central Iowa game of the week that you can hear here on ESPN Des Moines along with CISN TV, and also find it on Channel 13 on the WHO app. We jump over to our buddy Mike Palm in Las Vegas. It is a big week over there. Your big football introduction interview process is going to be happening coming up this week. I know you're incredibly busy. Thanks for giving us a couple of minutes back here in your home state.
It's always to be good. It's always good to be on in Iowa, Trent. Thanks for calling.
Yes, love to have you here as we talk football. Want to quickly just hit on week 0 of college football. These lines have been out there for so long. People that want to pop up there and the big bettors, I'm sure, have attacked, but I'm sure you have some big people, some whales coming into town for sign-up weekend also. Have you seen any line movement in any of the games here in week 0?
The line movement has been on this TCU North Carolina game from 6.5 to 7 to 7.5 to 8 to 8.5 to 9 to 9.5, back down to 9, back down to 8.5. So it was all TCU money the last few days, and we're starting to see some buyback on North Carolina.
Interesting. So we get some movement there. We got an ACC affair. Former Drake head coach Dave Doran and his Wolfpack at NC State. They go to Virginia. Doran has owned this series, but feels like Tony Elliott maybe's got Virginia in a different place after what they did a year ago. Any movement there? And also, did you guys have this line up when it was still scheduled for Brazil? Because I obviously had to change things when it went back to a home field.
Yeah. So anybody that made the bet when the game was scheduled for Brazil, that's a refund.
Okay.
Because the policy is the game has to be played within 8 days and 100 miles of the venue. Now that it moves 100 miles of the venue, we repost the line, and then it becomes a new market. We've seen a little bit of Virginia money here.
Little bit of Virginia money. Interesting. I'm on NC State on that one. That's a lean on it. And anytime you have a lean in week 0, Mike, you know you got to play it. Finally, UNLV facing off against Memphis. 2 intriguing teams. You can make arguments. Maybe these could be group of 5 representatives coming up in the college football playoff. Memphis, they got a lot of money. They needed it because they basically had to turn over their whole roster. And then the hometown team there with UNLV should be a fun one tomorrow night to cap things off. 7 o'clock kickoff out there Pacific time.
Yeah, that's an interesting matchup as well. We've seen good two-way on this game, so really not much of a decision for us.
Oh, interesting. Back and forth with Memphis and UNLV. Well, mention it is a big weekend for you guys out there at Circa. The contests continue to build and build and build. The momentum leading up to, of course, the final weekend, the final people for to get into Circa Millions and Circa Survivor. Is this your biggest weekend, though, in terms of signups? And what do you anticipate what we're going to see in terms of numbers this weekend?
You know, I was looking back last year, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday of contest weekend. We did about 2,000 survivors, about 700 in the millions, and we only did 3 Grandissimos, which was surprising to me. So the rush must have been late. We're pacing 60% ahead on survivors. So I do think that we're going to get to 25 million there. We're about 15% ahead in the millions. So I think we can get to that 6 million guarantee. And then same day last year, we were at 20 and, we only did 3 over this span and we're at 32 now for Grandissimo. I would be shocked if we're not at 40 by Saturday. I do think we can get to 10 million on the Grandissimo.
I'm with you. I think that was the number that I put out there when I was throwing out my over-unders for the contest this year. We got to have any kind of gambling line that we can here, Mike, and figure out what those numbers are going to be. Well, mention a big weekend for not just Circa, but for you, it is your football preview that you have each and every year. A number of people inside both the gambling space and just the football space that join you each and every year. 2 questions on that front. Tell us a little bit more about the details, who's going to be involved this year. And I know in the past, this is also that has been streamed in the past. Is this something that us here that are stuck in Iowa are going to be able to watch this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be streamed on the X page for VSiN.
Great.
So it'll be 4 to 6 p.m. in Iowa. And then we'll put it up on circalasvegas.com, probably get it posted sometime later in the day if you want to watch it sort of on demand, or maybe even on the VSiN platform, they might have it on demand. We just rounded out the 4th panelist yesterday. It's somebody that said no a couple times, but he's here and he agreed to go on. It's former running back Austin Eckler, who just recently moved to Las Vegas, I found out yesterday. So Austin Eckler will be on. Amal Shaw, my former partner, co-host on VSiN. Jeff Sherman, a longtime bookmaker for Westgate, just joined our team here at Circa. And then I'm just was meeting at the limo, as you called, Ruth Polinsky. Ruthie Polinsky is a host for CHSN in Chicago, a Bears reporter. Of course, that station has Blackhawks, White Sox, and Bulls.
Ruthie is very good in the sideline reporting that she does. I've seen a lot of her things. You mentioned the Bears angle. That led to a question. Boy, the Bears have seemed to be, you do your show over at The Score in Chicago, also on Saturday mornings, Palm Saturdays. This has become, at least in the gambling space, I feel like a very divisive team. The simple kind of equation for the team, well, last year, turnover luck, close game luck, all went their way. It's going to go the other direction. We know they're going to score. Is that defense going to stink? What about in the betting market, though? What we're actually seeing, that's what you can always help us out with, Mike. What have you seen betting-wise with the Bears?
Yeah, we've seen more anti-Bear position so far, and that's usually not true because we get a Midwest audience, plus we're in Illinois. So usually you would see pro-Bear money. But because we're so heavily biased to the professional bettors, you just listed it. All the regression signs are there, the turnover luck, the one-score luck. They also are replacing an entire secondary that created all those turnovers. They do have a left tackle issue, I think, and a much harder schedule. Now, that being said, it's still year 2 of what we believe is a really good head coach and what could be a very, very good quarterback. So, what do you balance it off of? I'm ambivalent about the Bears. I can see both sides of the argument. So I haven't done anything on Bears futures at all, but I know the folks in Chicago are really high on the Bears, and most of them think that they are an NFC championship game or Super Bowl team.
I definitely like a lot of overs in Bears games. That's the direction I think I'm going to be playing at least early on with that team, because that defense I think is going to have some major, major trouble. I like the Vikings this year. I like the Vikings in the division because of the price. Now, the price isn't what I got earlier this summer at plus 475. Now in that plus 365 range, I think I saw on Circa when I was looking last night. The Packers offensive line scares me. The Lions have had injury-wise, just an awful training camp for them leading into the season. Am I crazy, though, putting my money behind Kyler Murray? Yeah, I'm crazy, right?
No, well, my biggest bet in terms of dollars wagered is Vikings, yes, playoffs plus 155. I'm very high on the Vikings. Look, we don't talk enough about their defense, Trent.
You're right.
They're a top 7 defense 4 years in a row, and you're a Viking fan, so you could probably agree or disagree with the statement with more authority than most. I think they had their worst quarterback play since before Fran Tarkenton last year and still won 9 games. Now, that's a good thing. That says how good their defense was, but it's a bad thing because if they didn't win their last 3 games, they'd have had the Lions schedule, and they might be the favorite to win the division with the Lions schedule. It's also make or break for 2 people this year. Kyler Murray, who's playing for a new contract, and to change the narrative in the league. And KOC, let's face it, he hasn't won a playoff game in his first 4 years. I think if they don't win a playoff game this year, he may not be the head man there anymore. The only guy who's gotten a pass in the last 30 years on not winning a playoff game in his first 5 years and coached the 6th year is Marvin Lewis.
Wow, that is interesting. And yeah, for KOC and all the positive pub that kind of comes his way, it is surprising thinking back that there has not been a playoff victory. Mike Palm joining us from Circa Sports. Couple more for you, Mike, before we let you back to it on a busy week for you. I'll tell you, this week always brings out the crazies, and you see some of the fun things that come with sign-up weekend, too. Tell me a little bit about George Riley Pedagakis, a guy that I know Jeff Benson goes back and forth on Twitter a lot. I've seen you from time to time. Tell me about this George character. I feel like I need to know him.
The word that you use is the whole thing you need to know, character. This is a character George plays. I knew George 20 years ago when I ran poker rooms in Chicago. You know, he's a poker player.
Yes.
And look, George's father had a very successful business. They sold it. His father passed away. George has a lot of money. This character that he plays, living with mom and trying to get by, it's just the character. But he's done a great job of getting a tremendous amount of attention based off the character. George is a good guy. I knew him a long time ago, but most of this is an act.
Well, that in a way disappoints me a little bit, but still, being a character too, that's a good thing. And definitely you have plenty of those. Final thing for you, it's contest weekend. I know already some Iowans that are on their way out there. Few people have got the question, do I have to get out there to sign up for the contest? Yes, you do. Need to get out there, get your proxy. I always say footballcontest.com is who I use. Tony, she's from Ankeny, has done a great job for me in my 5 years in these contests. But for people that are maybe starting to plan for that football season trip, want to go out there, want to get involved, maybe get to Stadium Swim, get a day bed, get a cabana, all those different things, how things fill up. And as they're making those trips and getting ready for football season, how quickly they need to jump aboard if they want to have a great weekend at Circa.
Yeah, look, we put the football schedule out for booking as soon as we get to the playoffs the year before. Just like as soon as week 1 starts, we'll put the playoff out there and Super Bowl out there as well. I always say you want to give yourself at least 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that you don't get into a weekend that's sold out or a weekend where you don't have any space either in the sports book or at Stadium Swim. 3 of our 4 biggest weekends of the year are now NFL based. New Year's is no longer one of the big weekends. Look, the biggest is still the opening weekend of March Madness. But then second is Super Bowl, third is Wild Card Weekend, and fourth is week 1 of the NFL. So it's so much driven around the NFL. So don't think that on Tuesday you're going to decide to come out. You do need to plan it.
That's Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports and the 3 properties downtown. Him, Derek Stevens, the whole crew do a great job out there. If you're a sports fan, it is a must stop. Mike, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you so much.
Mike Palm, Vice President, joining us here as he does most every single week on the Lunch Rush as we talk about the gambling space. Of course, next week we'll have a lot more games to be talking about and previewing with Mike. We'll get his predictions. He's a big baseball fan. He likes to bet on hockey. Might take a little bit more. Ken always had that angle with him, but got to know Mike now about 5 years ago, and it's just been a great relationship. And again, the promotion continues. A chance for you on the Circa Sports Iowa app to get $250. This is for new and existing users. All you do, go to your app, deposit $250. Once you play through that $250, they will bonus you $250. You don't have to lose $250. You can win all your bets or even a single bet, but that is the way that it's set up. Go to circasports.com for more information or just Google Circa Sports Iowa. Download the app if you haven't already. A great way to kick off football season and get yourself started with $250 from Circa. We come back and we go to Kansas City. He is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs as the Chiefs prepare for their final preseason game of the year. Everybody preparing. Well, I guess we got a couple in the books last night as 4 went down, including one down to the wire in LA, the Battle of LA. I wasn't watching. I was watching volleyball instead. But it will be the Chiefs. They come up to wrap things up. And we'll talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Stay right there. We continue on here in a moment. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time
Pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Diggett of Rick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company, LLC, or a corporation. With Rush Diggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time.
Your comfort is our priority.
You're listening to The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Final segment of the week of The Lunch Rush. Welcome back with us on ESPN Des Moines and everywhere on the Rush Radio Network. You can find us at therushladio.com, and also an opportunity for you to get signed up for our Punt, Pass, and Kick Challenge next Friday, presented by Shields, as we'll be out at Valley Stadium. An opportunity for you. The winner will take home a $250 gift card. Go to therushladio.com, click on the promo tab, and you can get signed up for your chance with Shields and the Rush Radio Network. He is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, as he joins us with our training camp reports. And, well, Mitch, our camp reports are dwindling towards the end, but that is okay. It has been a great conversation with you each and every day. Really enjoyed these as we continue on. And now it is the final preseason game coming up.
Yeah, tonight you got me on game night or game day. You know how dangerous that is, Trent. I get a little, foam up the mouth. I'm starting to beat my head into sheetrock, and invited all of the cast members of Remember the Titans, and we're just going to get ready for tonight's game. And honestly, man, we shouldn't have invited the Hard Rockers to come in last night from South Dakota Mines. They ambushed the Drake Bulldogs. Yikes. But no, final preseason game, there's a lot on the plate. I wish I could tell you there are more answers than questions, but that's not the case for this Chiefs team right now because of injuries primarily. But there's also, it's a big night again for people as they try to make the final decisions. The cut down is Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. But really, the Chiefs are going to be busy. They'll be busy on the waiver wire, even some potential trades. They've already made one trade this week for an offensive lineman, and I look for that to continue, at least the activity or the attempt to do so.
The cut downs that happen, you go from 88 down to 53. You got the free agents, got other guys that are cut. Veach has done such a great job of building these rosters year after year after year, manipulating the salary cap, making everything. There's just so much that goes into it. In a way, though, Mitch, you come off the preseason game. Now, I guess good news for Kansas City, it's Friday as opposed to Saturday. I was reading about somebody on Saturday and what their front office, what their coaching staff, what they're going to be going through, kind of constructing that roster for Sunday. Would it make a little bit more sense to stretch this out another day or two? Or do you like the structure where you got to have your roster set and kind of figure things out by Sunday evening?
Well, it's been done actually to help the players who get cut, to have there be more time, even if there's 28 to 48 hours for kind of the blender to turn and allow players to get opportunities other places. So for that, I'm okay with it. The thing I'm really glad about is that several years ago, they changed it. Now we're at 91 players right now. We'll be at 53 by Sunday night. And keep in mind, that's not the final 53. That could change. That 53 could change as early as Monday morning. That's what I'm saying. The Chiefs are going to keep, stirring the pot. But to your point, I'm glad they don't do the two cut downs. It used to be you cut to 70 and then you cut to 60 or 53. And that really put, you just had limited time to review some players and then put some players in jeopardy of getting further injury. So I like the way the league does it now. Yes, it puts a real task on some of the personnel groups, personnel departments, especially if you have the later preseason games. We've done that. But it allows players more time to shop for their next place.
A guy that I was reading a little bit about last night, Mitch, was in the defensive backfield and what we see from Hicks, a guy that fourth-round pick a couple years ago, the moves that we've seen in that defensive backfield with obviously Trent McDuffie moving on. You bring in Delane to take over one of the cornerback spots. Jaden Hicks, I know there was a moment that he was in Spag's doghouse and working his way out of it. Year number 3, an important year for those guys in that third year that haven't quite gained the traction at this point in their careers.
Yeah, 100%. 2 years ago, Hicks was a real story. I featured him on one of these reports, fourth-round pick out of Washington State, and actually had a good year. 3 interceptions, was aggressive on scrimmage downs and special teams, and then last year backed up some, and can't give you a really good reason why. I do think, though, sometimes where they tried to make Trent McDuffie from a slot to an outside corner, that's on a ripple effect, including Shamari Connor and including Jaden Hicks, where they were kind of put in roles where maybe they either weren't ready for or suited for. And so now it feels like that in the case of especially Shamari Connor and Jaden Hicks, they're in roles where they can be successful. And Jaden has played that way. His blitz the other day was dynamic against Tampa Bay, but he's also done it in practice and done it in the preseason. So, yeah, tonight's a big night for Jaden Hicks. He's the personal protector on punt. He's a 4-core special teams player. He's very valuable to this Chiefs team.
Undrafted free agent we've talked about from Iowa, Xavier Wampa, a ton. One name that hasn't come up, though, is Ethan Hurkett, kid from over in Cedar Rapids, a definitely try-hard kind of guy. It is a long shot for him to make the 53, but when you've seen him, when you've heard about him, for people talking about him, even if it's not in Kansas City, you think he's got a shot to, at minimum, make a practice squad somewhere?
That's what he's got to shoot for right now. There's not going to be a spot on the 53 for Ethan. And he went to Cedar Rapids Xavier High School. So that high school's got a great reputation, obviously, play in a great league, play a great schedule. So he comes from a good background, and we've talked about how Iowa, University of Iowa, and Iowa State prepare their guys for the NFL. Now, in Ethan's case, tonight's big. He's going to get some snaps in the second half where he has got to prove that he is worthy to be either on the Chiefs practice squad or somebody's practice squad. Because, again, this is where it's an advantage for Ethan if he gets cut 24 or 48 hours earlier than some would think convenient. Because now he actually, that time, every one of those hours is important for him and his representatives to find his next stop. You know, there's some other guys I'm going to mention, even on the Seahawks side, and I was tough to see Richmond go down. Mason Richmond, the Iowa lineman, who they were counting on to be a backup offensive lineman. He's on IR. He's a Kansas City kid from Blue Valley High School. And then Bo Stevens is another Kansas City kid who's trying to make the Seahawk roster. Same story here. He's trying to fight to get like the last offensive lineman spot, and he played at Blue Springs in Kansas City. And then defensively, Iowa State's got J.R. Singleton on this Seattle team. So these Seattle guys are much like an Ethan Hurkett or Xavier Wampa, fighting for that last one or two spots. If they don't get it, you start all over, but you start all over in a hurry and try to find your next spot.
Mitch, we will see to kick things off. No Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to be Oladukin as he is still in concussion protocol. We're going to see the kid, Nussmeier, who is a talented dude. I mean, there were times where Nussmeier was talked about as potentially a first-round draft pick. Here he is. He's going to get the opportunity. Him and Fields are going to split the time out there at the quarterback spot. It's a preseason game, I get it, but a pretty big opportunity here for Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, huge. He's going to start this game. Now, I will tell you, we'll see. It's not etched in stone. There's a real chance Nussmeier could play this whole game. And if that's the case, then I think you're seeing a strong experimentation by the Chiefs coaches and Andy Reid to see if he can handle it. Because it is a real discussion and not imagined or created that Nussmeier could be considered the number 2 by the end of tonight. And the question you've got to ask yourself if you're the Chiefs, is he good enough to win a game? Especially a Chiefs team that's expected to be right back in the hunt for the AFC West title, Super Bowl post-game positioning. So you may have to win a game November, December, October against a good team. Would he be capable of doing that? Justin Fields has 53 starts, so we know that he's got the sample size. Nussmeier, quite honestly, has looked better, and he's looked consistent. Feet, vision, understanding, quick release. The ball comes out fast, man. The tempo with Nussmeier is just a click faster. I'll tell you, you're thinking, some would say, well, maybe you're overstating a third preseason game. Let me give you example A, and it happened at Arrowhead, and it happened in 2012. The Seahawks, and I respect John Schneider, their GM, a lot. We worked together for 3 years, and John's really good at what he does. It was 2012 at Arrowhead Stadium. He decided to do the same thing with a young rookie quarterback, and it was Russell Wilson. Wilson played that whole game against the Chiefs and lit us up to the point where they immediately traded then Matt Flynn, and Russell Wilson was starting on the rest of his career and led to a Super Bowl championship and almost another one. So point here is this is a gigantic night for Nussmeier. If he comes out and can light it up, or not even that, just look like, hey, that kid could win an NFL game as a rookie backup quarterback, then big decisions would have to be made in the next 48 hours by the Chiefs.
As you look back in hindsight now of the preseason camp for Patrick Mahomes, not going to play in this one. It'll be our first appearance we'll see of him in game action. Will be in game number 1. Just when you look back upon it, the way that everything went, could you really sign up for much better than the way this has gone?
No, and no. And I'm going to scoop myself here. I start the Minute with Mitch on Fox 17 here in a week. And that first Minute with Mitch in your market is going to feature Mahomes. In the fact that I was doing play-by-play on December the 14th when he gets hurt. But while I'm doing the play-by-play, it looks like, and I'm getting word that it's ACL. So you got a pit in your stomach, but then you start to think, God, when would he be available? Maybe not until Halloween of next year, right? You're looking at maybe the second half of 2026. And here we are. Right now, he's slated to start on September 14, 2026, after suffering an ACL injury on December 14. Another comparison here with the Seahawks is Zach Charbonnet, their running back. They decided to move on from Ken Walker. Thank you, Seahawks. We love Ken Walker. But Charbonnet now, he may not be available until October. Now, he did get hurt in the playoffs, so that was January, a month later than Mahomes. But Mahomes is going to be on the field arguably 2 months quicker, or at least 6 weeks to 2 months than Zach Charbonnet. So this is a wild, crazy story, but it's also Mahomes working 7 days a week, 7 hours a day for almost 7 months to get in this position to be on the field. He won't play tonight, as you alluded to, but he'll warm up as if he is playing. And he'll be so involved mentally for Nussmeier. He will be Nussmeier's personal quarterback coach tonight. Pat's going to be involved in this game as if he was taking every snap.
That is great news. No doubt Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, I'll be making my way over to Waukee as the Johnston Dragons are coming to town. And on the drive over, I'll be hungry. I'm thinking some Papa John's pizza.
Oh, high school football in Iowa, baby. Let's go. Who do the Earlham Cardinals have? I don't even know who they have.
They didn't make the rundown for me this week.
Okay. All right. Anyway, you got Waukee and Johnston to start the season. That's week 1.
That's week 1.
Let's just jump into the deep end of the pool and take pizza. Ooh, that's going to get soggy. Leave the pizza up by the side of the pool, but we're going to get some of this epic pepperoni stuffed crust pizza for just $14.99. Perfect for high school football tailgating. Pick up some pizza on the way to the game. I love it. So, keep me up to speed on my Iowa high school football. I love that too.
No doubt. We got you covered here, Mitch, and we'll talk to you again here down the line. So we'll have to put together the schedule when we get in season, find the right day, everything that works out well. But these training camp reports, it's been great, Mitch. I really enjoy it as we do each and every year. And thanks to the Donaldsons as we're able to have you on every single day.
No question. And I asked Wampa the other day, I go, did you guys win state? He goes, no, we lost to Ankeny junior year. Because I was talking about Proctor, and they had dudes on that team. And he goes, came back. We beat Ankeny the following year for a little revenge tour. He said, that's what we called it, the revenge tour. So, I got a little taste of Iowa high school football from Xavier Wampa.
That is awesome. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. Thank you so much, Mitch. It's been great.
Thanks, Trent. Talk to you in a couple weeks.
All right. That is the voice of the Chiefs, and he'll be with us weekly once we get into football season. Final part of the program each and every day. 2 and 3 for me, 0 for 1 for Drew. We give you losing picks.
It's time for Trent's Picks of the Day, presented by Circa Sports. Trent is not a professional bettor or a tout, just a guy that loves betting sports every day, usually poorly. Here's Trent.
Still a winning week. Yeah. We're ahead on the week, so we'll definitely take that. All right, Drew, you just had one pick yesterday. What do you got today?
All right. I got Dodgers, Tigers, Google.
Yeah.
Back against his former team.
Yep.
Give me under 6.5 Ks.
Oh, okay.
I think he's going to get a little shaken up over there in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Give me White Sox money line against your Twins.
All right.
And then I got Victor Hovland finishing in the top 5.
Top 5, okay.
And then North Carolina plus 8.5 spread.
Going 8.5 with that one. All right, we're on opposite sides. Okay. I'm fading Scooble against his old team. Give me the Tigers plus 170. I'm on the Twins, which is a rarity. I rarely bet on the Twins, but we're going to jump aboard on this one. Under in the North Carolina TCU matchup, 47.5. Give me NC State in the points plus 4.5. And I want Sacramento State against Dave against Chris Creighton, the old Drake coach, another old Drake coach. We got two of them tomorrow. That's what we'll have. We'll grab the 9.5 with Sacramento State making their move to the MAC in their first ever conference game. The Mid-American Conference, Sacramento State College Athletics.
I'm just so happy college football is back.
We made it. Tonight, high school football begins. Waukee and Johnston right here on ESPN Des Moines. Thanks for joining us on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Iowa $250. For everyone in Iowa, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right into your account. This is available for everyone in Iowa, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.